Hello everyone, Super Saiyan Curry here with yet another Pixar related video. I promise you I'm not obsessed with Pixar. I promise. I've stated multiple times before that I absolutely adore Pixar and I still am looking forward to seeing their future movies. And to make up for their absence last year, this year they actually have 2 movies coming out this year. As much as I love Pixar though, I will have to admit that some Pixar movies are better than others. That is why I decided to go through every single Pixar movie ever made, and I'm gonna rank them from the worst Pixar movie ever made to the best one ever made. And it has to come out of Pixar for it to count. These are my favorite Pixar films. If it's not by Pixar, it doesn't count. Without further ado, let's get started. Kicking off my list, starting at number 15 as the worst Pixar film so far, Brave. Yeah, I'm gonna have to be honest, I think Brave is really weak. Critically, people just said it was okay, and yeah, it's not really that good. I have reason for having Brave so low on this list. Besides, the dark tone is really unfitting in my opinion. The dark tone is just really out of place in a Pixar movie. I'm not denying that a dark tone can work in an animated film. A dark tone can work in an animated film. I've seen it work. This movie, for an example. What I mean is that the dark tone just feels very unfitting for a Pixar movie. Brave isn't really that memorable in my opinion either. The reason why I did not quote off Brave in my Pixar quotes video is because I did not remember a single quote from that movie. Now after having a second viewing of Brave, I now remember 3 quotes. That's not a good sign for me. The story is also pretty bad, in my opinion. It's basically a rip-off of Brother Bear, a Disney movie I never really liked, to be honest. Not to mention it's not really that fun to watch with its lack of humor, which is the reason why I don't remember any of the quotes. It's not really that funny. And really the problem is it's not trying to be funny. It takes itself a bit too seriously, which sucks the fun out of a Pixar film. But in this movie's defense, the animation is somewhat impressive, and it does have some very strong female characters. I'm not saying Brave is a bad movie, I'm just saying it's not a very good Pixar movie. Number 14, Ratatouille. Now I know it's a bit of a bold move having Ratatouille so low in this list, even lower than some other Pixar movie a lot of people hate. And I will admit the animation is really good. It has very luscious environments, especially when we have scopes of France, and the food is really well animated. But story and character wise, it's not really anything that special. There really wasn't anything epically huge about Ratatouille, well, except for the ending. But apart from that, there wasn't really anything that had me go, oh, Ratatouille, no, that's one of my favorites. It's good, but it's not my first choice. Number 13, Cars 2. Now there is a reason why Cars 2 is not at the very bottom of this list. Cars 2 is an underrated movie in my opinion. I don't think it deserves the hate it gets. And personally, I find this movie more entertaining and more memorable than the last 2 movies I spoke about. But at the same time, I do have more problems with it. The spy gimmick does feel very out of place, just like the dark tone from Brave. It lacks the emotion that a lot of other Pixar films deliver. When people say that Cars 2 is a cash grab, I can see what they're talking about. I don't really see that much effort in the story or the characters' complexity. And speaking of characters, Lightning McQueen, one of my favorite Pixar characters by the way, is a jerk in this movie. He is despicably unlikable. And I'm really sad to see this happen to Lightning McQueen because I absolutely loved this character when I saw the first movie. Lightning McQueen was my childhood character, and to see him act like this is really painful to watch actually. This is actually the reason why I'm glad the movie actually more focuses on Mater than it does on Lightning, because Mater is actually a likable guy. Not to mention he's actually funny. I love the scene when he mistakes wasabi for ice cream. And while the spy does feel out of place, the action is entertaining to watch. So, Cars 2 is not that great of a Pixar film, but it doesn't deserve the hate it gets. Number 12, WALL-E. Now, a lot of people seem to say they prefer the first half over the second half of the movie, but I'm actually the odd person out when I say I actually kind of prefer the second half of WALL-E than I do with the first half. The first half is just sort of a quiet, slow movie, emotional type of movie, but then the second half is more of a space adventure where WALL-E's trying to get the human race to return to Earth. I don't really know why, but for some reason I just do. I have a nasty habit with disagreeing with critics on the internet for some reason. But WALL-E is a heartwarming story, and the interaction between WALL-E and Eve is really good. And I absolutely love the captain of the Axiom. He is a hilarious character. Number 11, Cars. Cars is visually appealing in my opinion, and it does have memorable characters. And it just has a fun story. And I do like the friendship between Lightning and Mater, and I absolutely love the character arc with Lightning. And I do see more effort put into this movie than I do in the sequel. And this is actually a really nostalgic movie for me because it actually once was actually my favorite movie of all time. How did this get so low on the list? I don't really know. It's just a fun, silly movie, and I do enjoy watching it from time to time. Looking at it now, there are definitely Pixar movies that are worse than Cars. But there are also ones that are better than Cars. Number 10, Finding Nemo. Finding Nemo has a really great story, and this is actually one of the most emotional Pixar films out there. This movie does actually get really serious, but at the same time, it does enlighten the movie with humor. Something I think Brave should have done. One of the lighthearted moments of the movie is the character Dory, played by Ellen DeGeneres, and she absolutely kills it as Dory. She absolutely owns this entire movie. I would say go and see Finding Nemo just to experience the character Dory. She is absolutely hilarious. The underwater world is also really fantastically animated. It looks absolutely beautiful. And all of the characters are very, very strong characters. Dory, Marlin, Nemo, they all have very strong character arcs. Number 9, Up. Up has a very cute premise about being able to lift up a house using nothing but helium balloons. It's got very memorable, bright and colourful characters like Doug the dog, Kevin the female bird, and Russell the scout. And it's just a fun, entertaining movie, and you can't help out liking it. Not to mention the infamous first 10 minutes. They are absolutely great, and it's really impressive how you can tell an entire life story in just 10 minutes using no dialogue whatsoever and only using music. Number 8, Monsters University. Another underrated Pixar movie in my opinion. I don't really see why people really don't like Monsters University. They say that it's better than Cars 2, but not really by much. I disagree. I do think it's better than Cars 2, and in some circumstances I think it's kind of better than the original Monsters Inc. The story, in my opinion, is nothing special, but the movie more than makes up for that by being frequently funny with all of the characters, and I really do love the way how the characters all weave into how they are in the first movie. It's cleverly well done, and I do find myself laughing a lot in this movie. Number 7, Toy Story 3. Toy Story 3, in my opinion, is the weakest of the Toy Story trilogy, but the reason for that is it just doesn't always look very pleasant. I think they focus too much attention on the sunny side. I think sunny side should really be more just the climax of the movie, but it really kind of takes place over the entire movie, and I think they spend a bit too long in sunny side. But it does have a great setup, and it was done really cleverly. A lot of people were Andy's age when the first 2 Toy Story movies came out. So when those people were finally growing up, they were saying goodbye to their childhood, including the Toy Story trilogy. And the Toy Story trilogy decided to go, let's do it, let's grow up along with them. And that's exactly what it did, having the kids relate to Andy even when they are technically adults, making Andy an older teenager. Throughout the first 2 Toy Story movies, we see the toys interact with a kid who is at a sensible age. But here we actually get to find out what it's like for toys to experience teenagers and also experience toddlers. I think they like the age from the first 2 movies better. Not to mention, it has a great conclusion. And I am relieved to know that despite there is a Toy Story 4, which I don't think is a great idea, I'm relieved to know that it's not going to be a straight up continuation of the third movie and they are starting a new chapter. I hope they don't screw it up, and I am glad it's not continuing this story.